Hello everyone, thanks for joining me. Welcome to another Wednesday Night Live with Independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm located in Sheridan, Oregon in the United States. So glad that you could join me today. We've had a lovely weather day. It's been a busy day, but the weather has been great. So tonight we're going to play with the Country Bouquet. This is a stamp set in the current annual catalog and the coordinating punch. They were offered as a bundle in the January through April mini, and then when the annual catalog went live on May 2nd, they were unbundled and you will have to get them separately now. So let's see who we have on. And we'll give everybody just a minute, and then we'll get started. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Laura. Thank you for joining me. I do so appreciate it. Hello, Jennifer. All right. I had Suzanne call me at 6:59, and I'm like, I'm going live in a minute. So, sorry, I might be a minute late or so, but we're going to make we're going to make a card and a 3D project tonight using this bundle, and you might think, oh, well, that's a Valentine's set, but I assure you that neither one of my projects are Valentine's. So yes, you could definitely use this as a Valentine's set, but I'm going to show you today how you can use it all year round. All right. Hello, Cynthia. Thank you for joining. So before we get started, though, I do want to call your attention. Stampin' Up! Announced yesterday that beginning June 1st through the 30th, they will be having a designer series paper sale. They're on select papers in the annual catalog, and also the one Hello Irresistible from the online exclusives. And you will be able to get these at a discount. So if you've been waiting to get some designer series paper, you'll be able to get it at a discount beginning June 1st. All right. And after this video concludes, I'll put up the host code and a direct shopping link. So if you want to use that, you can. And I posted this, I believe, on my page yesterday, so you can click on that flyer, and I emailed it out as well. All right, so let's move forth from that. And let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with our card first. And we're going to bring in the Inked Botanical 6x6 Designer Series paper for this card. And I've already cut the sheet that we're going to use, but I do want to give you a quick look at this paper because I don't think paper is showcased very well in the catalog. So let's just do a quick flip. You get 4 each of the 12 double-sided designs. Okay. There we go. We're getting close. I might have showed you this one already. I think I did. Not all of my paper is in order at this point. Okay. Oh, and then there's this one. Okay. All right, so there's some good designs here with some small patterns. There's some busy patterns, and then there's some small patterns that will work well on just about anything you have. So we're going to set these aside, and we're going to get started. I haven't put those in a little envelope yet to keep them controlled. All right. So we're going to be using a little bit of the Real Red and Burlap combo ribbon. We're going to be using the burlap one, but I'm going to show you a different way to use it tonight. I've got a Lost Lagoon marker here, and that's a regular Stampin' Right marker. We've got some pecan pie, crushed curry, calypso coral, petal pink, Lost Lagoon, and Pretty Peacock. That's our color palette for tonight. And then for this card, we're also bringing in the Countryside Corners stamp and the coordinating die set. Okay. And then I'm also going to bring in the Layering Leaves stamp set. This is a $1 Million Sales Achiever stamp, and we're also going to be using the coordinating bow punch. Now these are sold separately in the catalog. The bow punch has been around for a couple of years. This is a brand new stamp set by Rachel, inspired by Rachel Tessman. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to get started with our stamping. Okay, so we're going to take a piece of Very Vanilla. And we have a thick Very Vanilla card base. This is going to be a landscape card. Okay, let's set those out of the way while we get this going. And I've already scored this at 4 1/4. It's 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. We scored it at 4 1/4. Okay. Then I've got a piece of that Designer Series paper from the Inked and Tiled, and I did not cut it correctly, as you can tell. So let's trim that down. This needs to be 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Well, that's what it is, so maybe my card base is not correct. No, for some reason my card base is not cut correctly. Let's fix that. I wonder if I just pulled out a piece of scrap and thought it was card size, and it's not. So we're going to go ahead and score this at 4 1/4. This is the way I usually do my card bases. I score at 4 1/4, an 8 1/2 by 11-inch sheet. And then I rotate it to 5 1/2. And then I cut it, and now I have 2 card bases ready to go. Okay, so we'll set one of those aside for later, and it'll be done correctly. And then we'll go ahead and get that going. I'm thinking I had a piece in there. That was a scrap piece. I thought it was card base size, and it isn't. Okay, so now we've got this, and we're going to add our Designer Series paper to that. And I'm going to go ahead and do that now because there's no reason to wait. Whoops. All right. So let's go ahead and put that down. We have a very narrow border of about 1/16 of an inch all the way around. Okay, so we've got that. Then our basic stamping piece is 3 3/4 by 5, and yep, that's the right one. And then we've got a scrap piece that we're also going to use. Okay, and I might need another scrap piece. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to do some random stamping on this piece. So let's get my scrap paper, which, good grief. Why is it whenever you want a scrap piece of paper, you can't find it on your desk when you just had it? Okay. Well, we'll just grab a new piece because we need this to protect our work surface. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, and the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I've got this cut correctly. Should be 3 3/4 by 5, and it is. So we're going to pull out Calypso Coral and Crushed Curry. Okay. And from the Country Bouquet stamp set for this card, we're going to use the this little flower bundle right here. Okay. And we're just going to do some random stamping on this piece. Whoops. See if I can fix that. Okay, there we go. No one will know I messed that up. Because it's photopolymer, I can see through it. Put another little piece right over here. And I'm going to close this up and give it a quick clean on my chamois. Simply chamois if you're looking for it in our catalog or online. Then I'm going to take my crushed curry and I'm going to repeat that. Some random stamping. Okay, and there is our base piece. All right, so we'll set that aside. So we don't need that for now. We're done with that. And we're going to grab our scrap cardstock here. And this is where we're going to pull in some layering leaves. Okay, now I've done most of these leaves ahead of time, but I'm going to show you what I did with a couple of them. So I'm going to take Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock, and you'll need 3 of these, but I'm only going to do 1. And before I make a mistake, let's grab my bow punch. I want to look at that. Oh, you know what? I think, pretty sure, no, I did not. Yes, I did, right here. With an 1.5 inch piece of the bow paper, I'm going to take, and I'm going to look at my punch, and I need to stamp this in this orientation. So I'm going to stamp it on the 1.5 inch piece, the Pretty Peacock outline first, and then I'm going to take my Lost Lagoon and the fill-in leaf, and I'm going to fill these leaves in. Okay, just like that. And then I also need one of these in pecan pie. So we're going to stamp this in pecan pie. And for this one with the punch, I need to go the other direction. So I'm just going to ink that up. And I'm going to stamp it over here like so. And then I'm going to take Petal Pink. And I'm going to take the other little one that looks like a rosebud. And I'm going to take all that ink off. And I'm just going to ink the top of this. And I'm going to place this down here just to add a little bit of extra color in there. Okay. So now I can set those aside. And then I'm just going to clean this off, and I'm going to grab Calypso Coral. Now with this one, I'm going to put it into the punch the other direction. So I'm flipping my paper. And I'm going to do that in Calypso Coral. Okay? All right. So we've got those. Now we'll use our punch. And we'll punch those out. And I'm going to just go right in here and line this up on the top for these little ones. Making sure that I have my stem in there correctly. I'm going to give that a punch. Then I'm going to flip that paper around so that it's in the same direction. And I'm going to punch this again. Okay. Now I have this piece and I need to punch this leaf, so I'm going to slip this into my punch now. And line that up and give that a punch. All right. So we've got those, and I have my other pieces already done. So we can set those aside. And we'll get rid of that scrap. And then we're going to bring in the Countryside Corners. And I just took and put this large stamp down on one of my Stamparatus plates. I'm just going to ink this up. And I'm going to take my Calypso Coral Stampin' Right marker for this. I'm going to take the brush tip and I'm just going to ink up the flower ring here. Just like this. Now, it's important to note that you cannot do this with the Stampin' Blend alcohol markers. You must use the Stampin' Right markers. The Stampin' Blends, because they're alcohol based, they'll dry very quickly and stain your stamp and leave you with no ink. So I'm just going to go over this a second time just to make sure I've got everything inked well. It's kind of warm in my studio. I'm going to give this a little huff. And then I'm going to take my scrap piece of paper and I'm going to set that down on my stamp. And I'm going to take a block. I'm going to hold on to that paper so it doesn't move. And I'm going to ink that up. And then I'm carefully going to lift that, and now I have this ring. So I have a empty center, and then I've got the outside. Okay, so that's how I inked up just one ring of this particular stamp. Okay, then I'm going to take my coordinating dies, and I'm going to cut that out with that die, okay? And I'm going to run that through my die cut machine. And when I get done, through the magic of television, I'll have that. Okay? So that's a way to use that one large stamp and not have to ink everything and get only what you need. Okay, now you could do that in multicolors. simply by using the different Stampin' Right markers and ink each one individually. Okay, so now that we have this, let's go ahead and put our sentiment in the middle. Okay, so for that, we're going to take Pretty Peacock ink. Actually, I used Lost Lagoon. Okay, and we're going to take, you could use either Pretty Peacock or the Lost Lagoon. Sending Hugs, and this is from the Layering Leaves stamp set. I love these sentiments and the size of them, as well as the fonts. Now, my Lost Lagoon seems to be a little bit on the inky side, so I'm just going to take a spoon and push that into the pad. And then I'm going to give that another inking, and now I'll have a better impression. Okay, and we'll just put that down there. Let it sit on the paper and soak in for half a second or two. All right, and now we have a really nice image. All right, so we are ready to start putting this card together. Okay, so let's go ahead and add this piece to our card base. Remember, this was 3 3/4 by 5. We're just going to put this on here like so. And then we're going to take some Stampin' Dimensionals and pop up this layer. But we're going to be putting, I'm going to avoid these corners. No, these corners. Okay. So I'm going to move this in, and I'm going to move this in. Okay, and you'll see why in just a moment. Okay, so we'll put this on. Let me get my tweezers so I can see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to put this down like so. Okay. And then I'm going to take those pieces that I've pre-cut along with the branch that I did make. Okay. And we're going to start layering these in here. Okay, so I'm going to put a couple of branches up here, like that. And then I'm going to take my Calypso Coral. I'm going to put this in here. And I've got a couple of those pecan pie ones, so we'll take one of these and we'll stick it in here along with a couple of these pecan pie ones. Okay, and then I also punched a couple of those leaves out in cardstock vellum, so I couldn't decide whether I should put some more in here to help unbusy the background, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to leave those. So let's go ahead and get some Stampin' or some glue dots, some mini glue dots. This roll is almost out, and I'm just going to pick that up on a glue dot. And we'll shove this in here. And actually, I don't want to deal with how long that is. So I'm just going to lift that up a bit, making sure that I'm keeping it inside the boundaries of my card base. So I don't want to go outside of that. Snip that off. And I think that's the end of my glue dots. All right, so we've got a backup roll right here. So let's take that glue dot. Actually, I'm just going to glue dot this while I'm at it. Put a glue dot on here. This is also a way to make sure you don't lose your pieces, because if you have them all on the glue dot sheet, they can't go anywhere. And then we just take and tear that off, and then everything we need will be there right where we need it, when we need it. Okay, so let's go ahead and slip this under here, and I have not pressed that down so I can still move it. When I'm ready, happy with it, then I'll give it a press. Trim that off just a pinch. Put this in. Hello, Lynette. All right, so we've got that. And we're putting the pecan pie ones down here, like so. I don't want to get those too far in. Get them completely covered up. So I'm going to put a bow down here, so I want those to sit out a little bit further. And then we'll add this up here in the top left, right in here. Okay. Then finally, we're going to take the burlap ribbon, and if you look at this burlap ribbon, it actually has a seam on both sides of the ribbon with white stitching. What I've done is I've cut off the white stitching on one side, and I just took my ribbon scissors and ran them right up the edge. And then I can take my ribbon and I can easily pull out the threads. Okay, so I've got those. Let's grab a few more. Okay, so we've got that. And I'm just going to get my ends as even as I can. Then I'm going to bring in my bow jig. Okay. And I'm going to set this up. Wrap it around, go under and over. And then I'm going to try to hold all these ends together and push it on through that loop and give it a tie. And I want to make sure that's nice and tight. And then I'm going to lift that up. Grab myself another glue dot. I'm going to put this into a little roll with my Take Your Pick tool. And I want this to sit right, excuse me, right here. So I'm just going to put my glue dot right there where I want my bow. I'm going to bring this down to me. I'm going to put that right there on that glue dot. Grab the ends of this ribbon, all of the ends. Okay, this one wants to be a little stinker. There we go. And then I'm going to take my ribbon scissors and I'm going to trim that off. Okay. And then that is the front of my card. Now, it needs a little embellishment. I'm not quite sure how this is going to work out. Let's go ahead and put our inside in first. So for the inside of our card, I've taken a piece of Very Vanilla that is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. And I've stamped 3 of those flower clusters. And since I don't know what I'm sending hugs for yet, I'm going to leave the sentiment blank. And I will either just write in it or I will stamp a sentiment later. Because this could very well be a get well soon. Or just I need to send you a hug. Okay, so we've got that. Now, I originally made this card in white, on white cardstock. And I thought, well, I took these pearlized enamel effects basics, and I used the white, and I went through all of the flowers. So we're going to try that and see how it looks on the Very Vanilla. And then we'll set it aside to dry. So I'm just going to put a little dab in the center of each flower. And it will look like a pearlized pearl, or a pearl, not an iridescent pearl. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. So I'll just hit the ones that I can see well. I'm going to go ahead and lift this leaf up right here. And I'm going to lift this one up. I didn't do this before because there's no point in putting it over the ones that won't show. Okay? So then we'll just set that aside to dry. Okay? So I'll bring that up so you can see what it looks like. And I'll push those leaves down later after everything is dry. And I see one more here on the edge that I should put a little dab on. Okay. All right, so there we go. Oh, I lost. Whoop. Here, hang on. 1, 2, 3. I forgot a whole clump. All right, so that is our first card. And for the envelope, I stamped the other one of the layering leaves and then used those clusters there too. Now you also could put those pearlized enamel effects on the envelope too, but I didn't do that. Okay, so that is project number 1. Let's set this somewhere where I cannot touch it and ruin those. And if you're curious as to what it looks like in the white, this is the original card done in white. So you could pick the inked and tiled actually does have Very Vanilla in it, as well as some basic white. So it will work with either colorway, but this is the one that I did in white. Okay, thanks you guys. I'm so glad you like that. And absolutely nothing Valentine's Day about that. So it's a good way to use that stamp set and use it all year round. Now let's go ahead and get these out of the way. And we will start our 3D project. And while we're doing that, while I'm cleaning up a bit, I have a third project here that I would like to show you. This uses that sketch that I used last week, and this was also a color challenge. So with this one I used the large heart image that's in the Country Bouquet stamp set. This one, two-step stamping, and did it in yellow, Daffodil Delight with the pretty peacock. And I really liked how that turned out. And then I just hand cut it, stuck it on there, and it says, just wanted to say, I love that we are friends. Again, another card, definitely not Valentine's Day. You could use it for Valentine's Day, but it doesn't say Valentine's Day, so it's good for all year. Okay, so there is another inspirational card for you for how you could use this stamp set and it not be Valentine's Day. And let's see, I might need some of these things, so I'm going to go ahead and, well, let's face it, I need to wipe these off because otherwise I'm going to stamp, I'm going to put my hand in them and then I'm going to get ink where I don't want it. So we'll just give them a very quick clean on the Simply Chamois, and then we'll move on. Okay, let's set that ribbon aside. And let's get those excess pieces out of the way. I'll put those away later in a little baggie inside the stamp case for use later. All right, so for this one, we're going to need our scoreboard. Okay, so let's get that out. This one actually uses very little supplies. We're going to start with a piece of Bubble Bath cardstock, and this is cut at 5.5 by 8.5. We're going to start with the 8.5 inch side at the top. Okay, and you might wonder where my template is. I actually forgot to get it out for you guys, but I've made 20 some of these boxes in the last day or two, so I have the measurements all stuck in my head, and I've simplified them. So on the 8.25 inch side, we're going to score at 2.25 and at 3. We're going to rotate it 180 degrees, and we're going to repeat 2.25 and 3. Okay, then we're going to rotate to the right. We're going to score at 4.25 and 5 inches. Again, rotated 180, and score again at 4.25 and 5 inches. And when we do that, it doesn't matter, because this is a symmetrical box. It does not matter if your width is a little bit off one way or another, because you're doing your measurements exactly the same from each end of the paper. Okay? So your box should be perfectly square, or in this case, rectangular, each time. And even if you get the measurements wrong, it should still work out because everything's symmetrical. As long as you do the same thing on each end, you should be good to go. Okay, so let's fold and burnish on all of our score lines. So we're going to do that. Okay, now you can hand trim this, but I'm going to bring in my trimmer because I made, a whole bunch of these, and the trimmer is just faster. So I'm going to set this for just a second, and I'm going to cut up my score line. So I'm going to turn this in the 8.25 inch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut on the right-hand side of the cardstock. I'm going to cut the first 2 score lines, and I'm going to cut them just to the left of the score line. Okay, just to the left on the first 2. And then on the left side of the cardstock, I'm going to cut just to the right of the score line on both of those. Okay, And then I'm going to flip it 180 and I'm going to repeat that. So I'm on the right side. I'm going to cut to the left of the score line, just right next to the score line because I want to cut it out. And I'm going to do that on the first 2 scores. Then I'm going to move to the left and I'm going to cut to the right of that score line on these 2 score marks. Okay, now here's where I'm going to bring in my trimmer. I want to get rid of all 4 of these sections. Okay, so the fastest way to do it when you're doing a bunch of them is to fold your center 3 pieces in, leave the ends out. Okay, you're going to put your score mark right up to that cut line and cut it. Okay, and that'll take off both of those at the same time. Now all I have to do is flip it. I've already got those folded in. And I'm going to repeat that again, just cutting off that score line. Okay, now this is what we have. Okay, now I'm going to fold these 2 back in. You could do this on your trimmer as well, but I found that because they're so thin, they bend, and I was getting a straighter cut by hand cutting it. So I'm just going to cut these off at the first score mark. You've got 2 tabs here, and I want to take the top tab off and leave just the bottom tab. Okay. And then I'm going to angle cut on each side of these tabs, just so that when it folds into my box, I don't see anything sticking out the top. It makes it for a cleaner looking box. Okay, so we'll just angle cut those. And I'm just taking just the slightest angle off. It's really just a tiny little piece. Okay, so now our box is trimmed and ready to go. And I'm going to cheat tonight. And I'm going to use some, I still have fast fuse left. So I'm going to use a little bit of fast fuse. You could use the Stampin' Seal Plus for this. And again, I'm going to fold those tabs out of my way. And I'm just going to put some tape runner right here. You need a strong adhesive, so you either need Seal Plus, liquid glue, fast fuse if you still have it in your stash, or tear and tape. And I'm just going to do it, now this is the outside of the box that I'm putting my tape on those 4 tabs. Okay. Then I'm going to fold on this score line right up to the corner, the cut to the score line, cut edge to the score line. I'm going to repeat that on the opposite side, folding in. Okay. Then I'm going to rotate to the other side. And again, I'm taking the cut line to the score, the folded corner here. And I'm going to do that again. And then I'm going to take my bone folder on the inside and I'm going to give that a good press and burnish that in really well. It's really important that when you're using tear tape or Stampin' Seal that you burnish that so that it'll stay. Okay, so now we're going to fold these and we've got a double flap box. Now I like to take and fold mine and see, okay, because it's symmetrical now, remember, I can fold it either direction. So I did not like how this looked when I did this. I had a little bit of an edge here. So I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to fold it this way, and this will be my top because it's meeting nicer at the edge. Okay? But before we do anything further, we need to get our pieces ready to go. So we're going to set that aside. And we're going to take 2 pieces of basic white that are 2 1/16 by 2 13/16. Okay, so what is that really? Your 1 tick line over 2 inches. So I'll show you on the trimmer. It's right here. You've got the 2 inches, and this first mark here is the 16th. So that's where you would want to cut. And then for the longer section, here's 3/4, and the 13th, 16th is the very next tick mark. So that's what you want. You could go down and eliminate that 16th and do it 2 3/4 if you like. I just happen to like the distance for this much better. Okay, so for this, I'm going to take Berry Burst. Okay, this is one of our new returning colors. And I'm actually going to set my silicone mat underneath my scrap paper. That helps hold the paper in place a little bit better. It gives a little bit of grip for this paper underneath. Just a tip for you. If you're trying to ink blend on a small piece of paper, if you use your silicone mat underneath, it works really nicely. So I'm going to take my blending brush and I'm going to tap that off a bit, and then I'm just going to give this a little blend, okay? And then I'm going to bring in my other one, and without re-inking, I'm just going to put a little bit of color on here. Okay, I don't need a bunch. I just want some color. All right, so we've got that. Now, let's go ahead and get some stamping done. And for this, we're going to use the Bubble Bath and the Berry Burst. And I've got some strips of basic white here, but we also need Lemon Lime Twist. Okay, so we've got Lemon Lime Twist. I've got a strip that is about 7/8 of an inch wide. And for this, I'm going to take the leaves from the Country Bouquet. Comes in a stamp like this. What did I do with my stamp set? Where did I put that? So you can, well, oh, I buried it. Of course, I put the card on there. Okay, so I'm going to use this image right here. And these are lined up so that they'll punch perfectly with the punch. So again, you want to look at your punch to see what orientation you need those stamps, okay? And this is how I need them. So, excuse me. The cottonwood is flying here and my throat is not happy. Neither is my nose. So I'm just going to stamp these down, and I only need one set here. So I've got those. And I'm going to set that aside, and I'm done with the Lemon Lime Twist. And then I have another strip that is a little over 1.5. And this will work perfectly for the double heart stamp, okay? So it comes together so that it will punch both of those hearts out at the same time. We're going to do 2 of these. We're going to do one in Bubble Bath. And we'll see if this is going to work. Yep. No, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and grab that spoon. This is a brand new stamp pad. And I want to make sure that I'm getting a clear, crisp image. So I'm going to push that down with my spoon again. Okay. And then I'm going to stamp that off. And I'm going to ink it again. And then I'm going to put this on my strip. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and just flip this around. I don't need to clean off my stamp because I stamped with the bubble gum first. And then I'm going to go to the Berry Burst. Okay. All right. Ooh, I might have got a little bit low on that. We'll see. We'll see. And anytime I use Berry Burst, I like to clean off right away. That is one of those colors that will stain very quickly. Okay, so let's grab our punch. Let's see if I got that too close to the edge or if I can make it work. Okay. I might need to restamp. Well, let's see, because is that, yep, that's the one I need in the Berry Burst. Let's do that again. Real quick, like, of course, the one I needed. Okay, so I'm going to move that up a bit. Be a little bit smarter this time. And again, I'm going to clean that off. Okay, let's go ahead and punch that. And then we'll punch this. And when you do this, you'll have enough to make 2 if you do 2 sets of leaves. Okay, so these are my pieces now. Let's pull these out. And the rest of this is scrap. And then we've got our leaves. Okay, so now I'm just going to push my leaves right into here, like so, and give those a punch. And because of the way I did that with the strips, I'm not wasting a bunch of paper. All right. So now we have what we need for our box. So let's go ahead and start assembly. Okay, we're going to take our piece here and we're going to add, actually I'm going to use this one on the front because it's a little bit darker, and I'm going to use this one. So let's just add this. Whoops. Well, the front one doesn't matter. I can get away with that. The inside piece you have to do your, well, you need to do your adhesive down the side. So we'll go ahead and we'll put that on. Okay, we need to do a little bit more stamping on this one. We're going to stamp "Just Wanted to Say." Okay, we're going to do "Just Wanted to Say," and I'm going to do that in Bubble Bath. So let's go ahead and get that done. And this barely fits on this piece, so we're just going to put it up here at the top, side to side, give that a good press. Okay, then we're going to take the "I Love That We Are Friends," and we're going to stamp that in Berry Burst. And we're going to put that down here near the bottom. Okay, so now our inside piece is done. And again, I'm going to clean that fairly quickly. Your stamps will stain no matter what you do, but you can keep the staining to a minimum if you clean them right away. Okay, so we've got this now. And then we need a heart. Okay, so we're going to take this double set of hearts here, and we're going to put this down here. And I did these in the bubble gum, or Bubble Bath. But you could do them in Berry Burst, or you could even do them in the Lemon Lime Twist if you so choose. So for this now, I'm going to flip this over. It's very important that I put my adhesive along the long sides for the inside piece. Okay, and I'm just going to open this and center this on as best I can. And where did my tweezers go? I want to pull that just a hair. I didn't press that bottom part down. So I'm just going to set that up like that. Hold it in place. And then I'm actually going to open up my box and press that down. And I want that to be really secured, especially along this edge. Okay, and you'll see why in just a moment. But let's go ahead and we're going to take the Bubble Bath large heart. And we're going to pop this one up with a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals. Okay. We're going to put this right here. And then we're going to take our small Berry Burst heart and we're going to put well, before we do that, we need to put these on. Okay, so to put the leaves on, the way I did it, I actually took these and put the leaves right side up onto the glue dot. Okay, right side up, right onto the glue dot. And then I'm going to take that and press it there. And by pressing the heart down into it, then the leaf will stick up without actually using a dimensional, which means I'm not adding any extra. Okay, and then I can do that. I'll just open that up, give it a press. Then I'm going to take a mini dimensional and I'm going to put it in the top corner of the large part of the heart. And then it's going to rest on the larger pink heart. And there we have that. Okay. Then to finish this off, we're going to take some iridescent pearls. And or take your pick tool. And before I put those on, I'm actually going to do my ribbon. That way I don't cover my iridescent pearls. Okay, so I've got a scrap piece of paper here. I have a piece of the sheer ribbon combo pack in the Bubble Bath. When you purchase this combo, you get Azure Afternoon, Lemon Lolly, and the Bubble Bath. All three colors. I didn't want it to be Bubble Bath because I didn't think it stood out well enough. So I'm going to take my light Berry Burst Stampin' Blend marker and I am going to color this. And because it's an alcohol marker, this is going to dry super fast. And I probably should have done it first, but I did find that this dried extremely fast on the sheer ribbon. Okay, so I'm just going to take and make sure I've got all of that. Okay, so now my ribbon is colored. Okay. And then I'm going to take my bone folder because When this dries, it gets a little bit stiff, and this ribbon is a little tiny bit stiff to begin with. So I'm just going to give that a good pull with my bone folder. Okay, and again, I'm going to bring back in my bow jig. And I'm going to tie this up. And give it a good pull here. Just make sure that's all secured. And then I'm going to grab my ribbon scissors. And I might need to trim those a little further. But what a beautiful bow that makes. Okay, again, we're going to take that glue dot. Okay, and I'm going to put this right here like this. Hold that tail down a bit. Okay, and then I'm going to trim it just a bit. Okay, and the final part, well, I shouldn't say final because we still need to close it. Let's put a pearl up here, a larger pearl down here, and then I'm going to take another one of the small pearls and put it right there. Actually, that's right on the plane, same plane, and oops, I pulled off the glue dot for that. Hang on. There we go. I'll just get a different one. And I'm going to be a little bit more careful about putting that down there. Okay, so the final part is to make a closure for this. But before we close it up, we're going to put our treat in there, because I know you want to know what it fits. So I'm going to take some Bouchard chocolates, and I've got the caramel sea salt along with the regular dark chocolate. And it will hold 6 of those. Okay, I'm going to fold that down, and I'm going to grab a Velcro dot. These are the ones that I like to use for projects like this. They're 3/8 inch in diameter. They're thin, clear fasteners, and they come on sheets, and I put my sheets together so that they're ready to go when I get them. And then I'll just cut a set of those off. And I like to put the clear side on the side that's going to be seen most of the time. So I'm going to put that down like so here. I'm going to give that a press, open it up, press that with my thumb and finger, and then I will set this down, close my box, make sure it's all lined up the way I want it, give it a press. Okay, then I can open this up very carefully, and then I'll give that a good press between my thumb and forefinger. Okay, so there you have it. Okay, now if you want to stick around for just a second, let me bring back in the other card that we made, and then I'll show you the other boxes that I made that I've been working on. Okay, so where is, our Sending Hugs card is over here because I set it out of the way so I wouldn't mess it up. So those are our projects for tonight. And these are the other boxes that I made. This uses the Zoo Crew paper. I don't have the bundle, but I did the same thing. I used black cardstock. This is just a piece of basic white. I used Pool Party in the background. I used my Scan and Cut to cut out those images from the paper. And then this sentiment comes from a retired stamp set. So that's what I did for that. And then this is, these stamps are all retired, but I just thought I'd show you what I was making. And I took the Life is Better When You're Crafting from the Crafting with You stamp set, and I inked up Life is Better When You. It's supposed to say your. I masked those off and then put in dance here. So those are for the ballet. These are for the ballet teachers. And these are for the ballet girls. So anyway, those are my little boxes that I've been working on. And then I thought, well, I need to make one for tonight's live. So I used that country bouquet and made that box up. All right. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll put the shopping links in the video after I finish and post it. And I'll see you back here next week, I believe. But the following week will be Caitlin's final high school music concert, so I won't be here that Wednesday. So I'll see you next week, and then I'll be gone for a week. All right, good night, everybody. Thank you.